Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jarrell Young here with the Better Homes and Garden Real Estate Kenney Company Podcast. First episode, super excited to bring you this amazing content. We got Calvin Tucker here to my right.
Hey.
And across the table from us, you guys, I'm telling you right now, we have an absolute legend in the real estate game. He's been in the real estate game how long, Calvin?
20 plus.
20 plus years.
Two decades.
He's an adult in real estate.
That's it.
That's amazing.
That's it.
That's amazing. He's not senior citizen status, but he's been in the game for a while. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to introduce to you all Mr. Mike Kenney.
Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Yeah, if you're just listening to it and you're not like actually observing the visuals on this, my man's got a mean green jacket.
It's amazing
right now.
He just won the
PGA status.
He just won the Masters. He's got gold like buttons on the side, nice emerald.
Looking like money, baby.
It's made in the exact replica. But I wasn't going to get there. We're enjoying it.
There we go.
He said, if I give you an extra $100, can you put the Masters patch in?
That's it. On brand.
So today we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics, but the first thing we're going to start with is, who is Mike Kenney?
Mike Kenney. Wow. I am a blessed child of God that has the favor of growing up in a house of 9 kids. I'm the husband to a precious bride, my college sweetheart. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary. I've got 4 beautiful kids, Emma, Hannah, Noah, and Mia. I have had the opportunity to see God do absolutely miraculous things in the 40 plus years of life I've had. I'm not going to get to the exact number of years now as I start getting closer to the 50 number. But no, God's been extremely gracious to me throughout my life, and seeing his faithfulness and testimony play out inside of my journey is something that I am grateful to do. So that's me. I'm humbled to be able to serve God and serve others, and get to do that in the context of many different business facets, but specifically real estate.
That's awesome. I know that we are in Colorado, and people in Colorado Springs take real pride. Are you a native Colorado resident?
I am a native.
Okay.
I don't have the bumper sticker, but
Okay.
I am a native.
I got the tattoo on my chest.
That's it, right?
Colorado C.
There you go. Born and raised.
Look out.
That's
Right.
awesome. That's awesome. We'll get into part of this interview. There's a lot of big news that's happened with Kenney & Company over the last, what would you say, couple months?
7 months or so.
7 months or so.
Yeah.
There's a transition. Mike, we'd love to hear your opinion on the transition. Where's Kenney & Company? Where was it at before? Where is it at now? What are you excited for in the future? What are you seeing for Kenney & Company?
Awesome. I appreciate you guys asking. So give a little background. Kenney & Company is a 3rd generation real estate company. Started back with my mom's dad. My grandfather, Grandpa Maury, was in real estate back in New York. Did real estate there. Went down and did development down in Cape Coral when it was swampland.
All right.
Came out to Colorado, did stuff here, Nevada, and California. Fast forward, my mom met my dad. They got married. Dad was not in real estate. Dad didn't want to do anything.
What was
with
he doing
what did he do?
real estate?
He had jobs all over the map. At the job that was the catalyst, though, for him to get out of his previous career was he was in retail. And in retail, he was having to work nights and weekends and holidays, and he'd started this young family, of which I'm the oldest in that. At the time, there was myself and my sister. I think my mom might have been expecting number 3 at the time. And in that, he said, I don't want to miss out on my kid's life. And in a big step and leap of faith, he and Mom got started. Mom was the first broker at Kenney & Company.
Wow, okay.
Because of her dad. She had her license. She's had her license for, I probably shouldn't say how long my mom's had her license, but she's had it for a few years. Anyway.
Redacted.
Company secret.
Keep this out there.
She's the first boss. Anyways, but Mom, Dad started in real estate, and that was almost 40 years, 37 years ago now.
Okay.
Wow.
A long time ago.
What the real estate brokerage that your grandfather worked for, was that like the precursor to Kenney & Company, or was he?
It
Okay.
wasn't Kenney & Company. He had a couple different companies there,
Okay.
from construction to development to
Gotcha.
the retail side of it.
Yeah.
Not to cut anybody off, but I feel like it's like a history lesson. I did not know. I've been at this company for 4 years. I'm like, New York.
From East Coast. Yeah.
What? So this is amazing. Keep going. Keep going.
Roots.
Yeah, absolutely. In that context, Mom and Dad started
What year was that?
19, what would that have been, 85? In the context there, they decided that without a whole lot of expertise, Dad didn't have any background in real estate. And my grandfather's expert advice to him was, it's real easy, Steve. It's the 3 Ps. You need to put a sign in the yard, you put an ad in the paper, and you pray. And that's how you do real estate.
The original 3-step game.
That's it. The original 3-step game plan. My dad said the only problem was, where do I get the yard and where do I get the sign? Anyway. But no, God has been faithful in taking the little steps of faith that they took early on, and they were able to provide for a family of 9. The biggest thing I valued about my mom and dad, awesome parents, but biggest thing I valued was that they were always present. The reason they got into real estate, to be able to be available and provide for the needs of the family. My dad never missed a game. Again, 9 kids. They were at every concert and your play that you had to do in elementary school.
Yeah.
They made every effort to be there, and real
awesome.
estate gave them the flexibility to be present, and I am eternally grateful for that. I went and got put on from an early age in the teenagers' Heart for the World missions, and from early heroes of Jim Elliott and giving his life for the gospel and bringing people to know Christ, to I could go on and on about different stories and people that influenced that, but decided I wanted to go and study business and do it with the intent of going into places that weren't open to the gospel as a business person. So I went up to college, played in football, and studying business, and swearing I was never going to do real estate. In my journey there, and the reason being, as much as I loved my parents and loved the experience I had, real estate was too hyper local focused, and I had a heart for the world. I had a desire to go to other places. It was like, there's just no way you can do that. You can't do real estate and not be tied to a singular location. It was early though, in my freshman year of college, the Holy Spirit, as he affectionately calls me, said, hey knucklehead, look, if you understand, he owns the land, makes the rules, there's no place you can't go. Semi-reluctantly, I said, okay, I'm gonna do real estate. So I got my real estate license. At the time it was correspondence, wasn't online. They send you the book, you take the test, you send it back, they tell you what you got on it. Come back, you find out later. Came back that summer while I was still playing football. I came back, took the test, started doing real estate. So that was 23 years ago now. In doing that, God was faithful in showing himself in this, which kind of evolved into who we are today. People say, who is Kenney Company? What are you about? We summed it up into 3 words. It's grow, steward, and win. And those 3 words there came out of a real eloquent mission purpose statement, and a mentor friend of mine challenged me. He said, how many people in your company can say what the company's about? How many can say that mission statement, that really eloquent, special thing? I said, they all get it. They all understand. and he challenged it, and we boiled it down to those 3 words.
Awesome.
But that the GROW piece of that, I'll just give them real quick. The GROW piece of that is an acronym. GROW stands for what are the goals? So whenever we're sitting down with a client, we're sitting down with an agent, we're sitting down with investors, whatever the case is, we're sitting down and we're figuring out what is the goal and helping you identify that. The next piece of that is the R, the realities. What are the present realities you're faced with? Whether it's you're buying your first home and we want to find out, have you had a chance to talk to a lender yet? Have you saved any money for a down payment? What are our credit scores? Where are we at? What are the realities of what you need besides the goal of, hey, I want a luxury mansion, but I want to do it on a McDonald's budget? We go through those realities and say, okay, based on what we can afford, here's what those things are, and does this accomplish the goal? So we identify those realities with you. The options are taking those goals and realities and putting them together. And everybody at Kenney Company is masterful at these 3 things. Being able to figure out what the goals are, figuring out what the realities of the situation are, and coming up with options that are really specific to your scenario and give you expert advice on what to do. The W piece of that's the action steps. Who, what, when, where, what are we going to get done? How's it going to get done? We're going to get a plan in place. It's great to have a vision. It's great to understand the realities. It's great to have some options. But if no one takes any action, nothing happens. That's the piece of it there on the growth side. The stewardship piece comes out of the understanding of Moses here, and Moses was called to go and lead the people of Israel out, and he goes to God. God says, you're going to take them out. And he says, I can't do that. I can't do it. God says, Moses, what's that in your hand? It's a stick. He says, throw it on the ground. Turns into a snake.
Yeah.
Picks picks it back up, turns back into a stick. Depends on which, if it's Charleston Heston version. It depends on which one you were watching.
Depending on where
Take
you're
them out.
Yeah, Prince of Egypt is pretty nice. That's what I grew up on.
Anyway,
I was like, oh snap.
anyways, but it's that what's in your hand.
Yeah.
And so stewardship is every single one of us, no matter where you're at, whether you're, serving on the mission field, whether you are raising a family, whether you're buying a house, you're buying investment property, we're helping you do a development project, whatever the scenario is, God's entrusted something in your hand.
Yeah.
And what's in your hand when surrendered to Him is the best form of stewardship there. When He puts His blessing on it, supernatural things like the stick turning into a snake, you see that type of miraculous provision take place. But that was it. So going back to the story in college there, it was what's in your hand. All right, I'm going to get my license and we're going to do what's in my hand right now. So we're going to take good care of people. The last piece before I get off of the grow, steward, and win comes from Lou Holtz, a great football coach. He'd asked his football players every day to ask themselves the question, what's important now? 100 times a day they were supposed to say, what's important now? When you understand those goals, the realities, the options, the action steps, you understand here's what's in my hand, here's what God's entrusted to me, whether this is you as the client buying, selling, investing, managing a property, you as the agent saying, okay, who is the person that God's entrusted to me? What are the things He's put in my hand now? That what's important now question is the next piece of it. Right this very minute, what's important now? And I was the beneficiary of that with my parents. My dad and mom said what's important now is to be present in our kids' lives. What's important right now in this context here, we're sitting and focused on talking to you two and talking to an audience of people of saying, okay, what is important right this minute? And so that grow, steward, and win defines kind of everything we do, and it formulates all of it. So rewind back to the conversation in college and understand, okay, God, I'm going to take what's in my hand here and just steward it.
Yeah, using even that GROW acronym. So in that time of goals of heart, like Heart for the Nation, right? God showed you that your goals could collide. The reality was real estate could help that goal happen, the options in making that happen. Sounds like you moved back to Colorado, if I'm not jumping through the story, right? 23 years ago. And then who, what, when, and where. It sounds like you came back home, did you finish in college, or what was the timeline with all that there?
I did, yeah. So I finished playing football out at Taylor University, where I met my college sweetheart.
Shout out, Becky.
Yeah, saved Becky from the Midwest. Brought her back to God's country here in Colorado.
There you go.
And anyway, we got started in real estate and learned a lot of lessons, trying to figure it out, and God was faithful in that. All the while trying to push my dad to grow. That was a big deal. You got opportunity, and here's the stuff, and here's the impact, and here's and my dad was gracious. He was loving, like our Heavenly Father. He was like, that's great. Yeah, I appreciate it. And he was just faithful enough to let me grow at a level that was sustainable. It was about 13 years ago. He and I switched seats.
Okay.
Yeah, I took over. There were 6 of us at the time in the company.
How many agents do we have at this very moment?
I think our total head count, staff, everybody included, is just over 60. We're about 63 total. So
from 6 to 60.
Yeah, God blessing in that context, and we've had the opportunity. We've said no to a lot more than we've said yes to.
Sure.
And everybody that's at Kenney Company is family.
Yeah.
They're high caliber, the people that I would trust with my life, and that makes a big difference when you have those kind of people around you. Anyways, that piece of it, we swapped seats. History of. It wasn't too much longer as we started growing. We were producing. We had the opportunity to serve a lot of different organizations and leaders of organizations, and from again across the board. And I got to see God starting to fulfill the early vision of being able to go places that weren't open to the gospel. And God's doing that, and I could tell story after story. We're not going to get into it all now, but of God's faithfulness in fulfilling, even if it wasn't the way I drew it up in my mind the first time. Whether it's serving on boards or helping do projects across the globe that are literally bringing the gospel into places that aren't reached. And God's been faithful in that, and real estate was the catalyst for it. God knew in His sovereign hand and plan that was where we're at, and that's the opportunity.
Can we just give a shout out to God?
Amen.
Shout out
God.
God.
Shout out.
G-O-D.
He be God.
The real one sponsoring this podcast.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was the story. So we had your first, I'm getting all the way back to your question, how did we get here? In that piece of going through learning to grow, growing pains, trying to implement systems that add value to the marketplace, which is what we do. Any business, your mission is to add value. If you're not adding value, you're not getting paid. Let's just put it that way. And so if you're struggling, that's just a lesson to anybody out there right now. If you're struggling financially, it's because we're not adding value.
Add the value.
God's faithfulness in that we've been approached by a bunch of different organizations So you asked, how did Kenney Company evolve from Kenney Company to Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Kenney Company? And on our retail side of this, we've been approached by a bunch of different franchises and other organizations that wanted to acquire us and do different pieces. And they were all flattering. It was nice. It was appreciated when people did it, but their heart and their passion wasn't right.
Sure.
They didn't get there. The Holy Spirit just started putting on my heart, hey, look, you know what, for our team, as we grow and we start going into some of these other parts of the country, other parts of the globe, from a real estate standpoint, it's okay to have a partner. But if you're going to add a partner in this equation, that partner needs to be top notch. This is like the Broncos bringing back Peyton Manning to go into the Super Bowl. It's like
they could use him right now.
See,
they need him.
We definitely could right now.
I'll take Tebow.
They'll take John Elway in his last season at this point.
Don't take John at the come and go at this point.
They'll take the guy at Shields.
That works in the football section?
No, just put the AI, the statue guy out there. Just give him the ball. He'll make more touchdowns.
Russell's doing better this year. It's the defense. It's
okay,
terrible.
there you go.
Anyway.
They couldn't stop a nosebleed.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. Anyway, but we were looking for a strategic partner. We're going to do this. We're going to do it with a champion level caliber player. This is Coach Prime showing up to see you. This is big time stuff. And so in that, we were prayerful in evaluating different opportunities. Better Homes and Gardens is, most people may or may not know, it's a 100-year-old company owned by the Meredith Corporation. Recently, the Meredith Corporation and Dotdash merged and created Dotdash Meredith, which is literally the largest digital and print publisher in the world. This strategic alliance brought all those parties to the table
together,
and gave those to us exclusively in Colorado. Huge opportunity for our agents and for our customers. The platform to be able to market beyond what we could do on our own. We're seeing God take something and faithful service and stewardship and turn that into some supernatural impact and results. And so, very abbreviated version of how we got there, but God strategically walked us through that and put the pieces and people together. And you two gentlemen have played a critical role in that. Mr. Calvin Tucker over here was the muscle behind most of this transition. And I just want to give a shout out and a thank you to Mr. Tucker.
Yeah, no, it's been good.
Drill Young. That's right. There it is. Then, Mr. Young you sit on our leadership team, and you've done a fabulous job. Relatively new in the industry, relative to industry standards, you have absolutely taken it and run. When Rookie of the Year have been recognized on multiple levels, got to use this to elevate your own experience. I'd love for you to just give a quick 30 seconds on why you got into real estate and how God used that in your life.
And I just want to take a quick 10 seconds to say that seriously, in the 4 years that you've been with the company, the amount of growth that you have had personally has only expanded what we've done as a company. So even in this transition, it's been phenomenal. So
I appreciate that, y'all, because sitting next to I don't if you guys might not know who Mike and Calvin are, they're great people, right? They're wonderful people, great real estate agents. But it's good to be able to be in a position to where you can call and ask your boss or ask somebody else on your team, can you pray for me? Can you be there for me? Hey, this is what my family's going through. And so having the type of support that you guys just heard on here is, I wouldn't go for all the people calling my phone asking like, hey, do you want to switch brokerages? The answer is no. You can feel free to lose my number. We're not doing it. It's not going to happen. But to answer your question, man, I got into real estate. I had family that was in real estate back in Delaware, and they always increased the value of it, but I had no clue at all of what real estate really was.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm gonna own a fat crib. I watched cribs before on
That's
TV.
it.
I'm about to do that.
That little Romeo episode.
Then I found out they were all rented. I was like, I don't want to do that. No, but I'm the son of my mom is a minister. My dad is a minister. And so ministry, outreach, and things like that have always been like a huge part of just who I am. I also saw my dad take us from living in Section 8 housing to then owning a home. And so seeing the passion that my mom and dad had for, again, helping the community, helping people, that's just something I grew up with. So it didn't matter if I was playing football, it didn't matter if I was in school, whatever the situation was, I was always like, okay, what's my purpose in this position? How do I give back? And so when I found real estate, I got into real estate first by talking to Aaron Moore.
Aaron Moore.
Yeah.
That's the same reason why I'm in this chair.
The diversity team.
The diversity team, that's it.
No, so I met Aaron Moore at a football field, And I was like, hey man, I want to get involved in real estate investing. He's like, how much money you got? And I was like, $37. He's like, you don't have enough money to invest. You need to invest in yourself. The real estate you need to be focused on
There you go.
is you.
That's it. That sounds like Aaron.
But no, he was like, hey, you know what? I want you to introduce you to somebody. And he introduced me to Mike. And then I told Mike my story, told Aaron my story. I was like, hey, I'm just a dude trying to take care of his family. But I believe that God's blessed me with the ability to sell and a heart to serve people. And they've just been able to take that gift and then multiply it to where, again, even though I've had a chance to be able to experience some success, a lot of the foundation work that was done came from the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
But also dealing with people like Mike Kenney, Calvin Tucker, and Aaron Moore, the people who were behind the scenes when I was like crying on couches, like, how am I gonna do this? They're like, hey, you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. So, yeah, love being where I'm at. That's why I'm in real estate. God is good.
Amen. All right. Well, thank you, Jarrell. And it's been a blessing to watch that growth journey. And
Yes, it has.
It's just starting. So it's exciting to see what God's got in store.
Yeah.
No, it's a fun opportunity. We're in a fun season. Kenney Company's excited about the growth and opportunities to go. God, with this relationship, is opening up doors in other states.
Absolutely.
We're adding another office in Denver. We're looking at some others around the state, and potentially another one back in the Midwest.
Okay. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
So
stay tuned.
So
Stay
I
tuned.
not to interrupt.
Yeah.
But in 7 months, right? We're talking 7 months. We went from just again, I don't know if the listeners paying attention. We went from hey, we're transitioning to this conglomerate, right? Being able to be a part of this gigantic networking system, and there's all these things that we get to add to our clients. Within 7 months, we're already opening up different offices, and then now possibly
Looking at expansion
expansion
past the state. Yeah.
How has the transition been for both of you all, right? Because you said Calvin was a huge part of this as well. So how's the transition been going from, hey, we're worried about our office to now, okay, we're expanding, we're here, we're taking flights, we're interviewing brokerages, not interviewing agents, but brokerages. Like, how does that work?
You want to start in on that?
Why don't you start with how's the transition been?
Yeah.
And then I'll go to the next one.
Calvin, for those of you who's listening, Calvin is all smiles right now.
No, the transition, honestly, so with Better Homes and Garden, anybody, whether you're a client or you're an agent, listen to this, just knowing that part of the decision making in joining this team was how this company really does take what we already do well and call us to better, call us to more, right? And the transition has been great. Tisha and Joseph, if you're listening, they have been amazing and phenomenal in the transition. Like any change, there's growing pains in it, but I think that the leadership of Mike, knowing when we need to push something and when we don't need to push something. I mean, because we could be on here 2 hours talking about everything that Better Homes and Garden has available to clients who want to buy or sell, and then also just agents who want to expand and be able to steward properly in this marketplace. But Mike's leadership and knowing, hey, we're going to implement this system now or push this now or those things has been really beneficial. And then just the place of one of the logos is, or one of the slogans is expect better. And so I think all of us as a company, whether it's shout out Kat back at the office, shout out Hector, shout out Brandon with our property management, Mike Galt with our commercial, and then all of our leadership team. Yeah.
What you got, Mike?
Yeah, I would agree with everything Calvin just said. And it's been an exciting adventure. How do we go from very local Colorado Springs? We had a small team in Denver, and they've changed offices and getting ready to add another one up there, to potentially looking outside of it. It really is just by God's grace. Yeah, we're praying for wisdom and opportunities and saying, all right, God, here's the door. Waiting for him to tell us, walk through it or not. We're asking him to keep them open and close the ones we want to close. But we're excited about those opportunities, the potential to grow, to be better in that scenario, to steward what we have and to win in those contexts is at a all-time high and is just getting started. So.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I do have for you having made this decision, and I know that you, with stewardship being one of our core values, what are the most things that you're excited for, how this impacts the clientele that we serve? What are you most excited about this merger and how this translates into the value we add to the community?
Yeah, absolutely. We already had some of the best care from a fiduciary standpoint for all of our clients. Every one of these guys, from Jarrell, Aaron, names you've heard, all the way through the organization, puts our clients' needs first. And that understanding and appreciating that fiduciary responsibility is something that we do pride ourselves on. That didn't change in any context. What this did for our clients in a highly competitive market, as we're starting to see market shifts and things take place, it positioned our clients with the reach that's unique to them because of that largest digital publisher and print publisher in the world. It gave resources, our clients, if you have the opportunity to list with one of our agents, your property qualifies. I'm just going to talk about one of our brand tiers now.
Yeah, let's talk about
One of those brand tiers is our distinctive collection. Distinctive collection is for the top 10% properties in any given zip code. It qualifies. There's a couple other criteria that go into it, but as a part of this, we're going to get you in front of a global audience even further than we were able to do before. And frankly, unlike anybody else in the marketplace has the opportunity to do. You're going to be on the Wall Street Journal, you're going to be in the Robb Report, James Edition. There's a syndication of the multiple sites that these guys run, social media channels that we have because of these publishing arms that are unique. And so that's a huge value. We've got new programs that we're bringing in that are concierge, white glove services that they're going to make your transition moving from point A to point B that much easier. They're going to help. We've got a program now that will let you transition. We're going to get you coupons on your vendors for whether it's movers or moving boxes for day of pizza, you name it, whatever. They've got this piece, and it's a program we're bringing. And they're going to help you save hours of time. Our agents are now able to help the consumer save hours of time by letting them say, hey, here's the utility companies that are in the area of the house you just bought. Here's the trash service provider. Here's the cable guys that are around, and they're going to save you tons of time and give you discounts on that. So that's just one of many new programs helping people get their house on the market. If they didn't have the ability to do the fix-ups, that you say, hey, look, if I invest a few $1,000s here, I'm going to see a few tens of thousands of dollars in return. You're like, I just don't have the money.
Sure.
We've got a program that helps you do that now, and bringing in high-quality contractors to do that. That's just one of many pieces that are going to help you. The end-to-end service pieces, we're continuing to figure out how to make it a one-stop shop for you, so you don't have to, with the chaos of life and all the stuff going on, bring in all the different services and things that you need to get your deal done to be able to accomplish your goals and move on, whether it's to the next house or sell, downsize, do the development project that you're looking at doing, the funding there. We've got a bunch of fun things that are happening. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, without taking the 2 hours to talk about
all the different things.
And I don't think 2 hours is adequate. So
there's a lot. There's a whole lot to it, but it's just I'm blown away every time we log on. They're like, hey, did you see this? I'm like, no, I didn't know that this existed.
Yeah.
And I'm also like, this is gonna make selling my home or selling a home for my clients so much easier. How has it been for you, Calvin? Again, you're dealing with a lot of calls from agents. What are you seeing, like, from people coming in saying, hey, this is where we're at, this technology, walking them through that part of it? How's that been?
Yeah, so I think even just the time that's cut down from, even if it's as simple as, so for agents internally, having to make a flyer or having to make marketing for this or have to sit down and take time to do that. With us joining BHGRE in this way, we've cut down that time a lot for agents. They literally put a listing in MLS, it syndicates this backdoor system, and then within a matter of 24 hours, they're able to produce marketing properly for you and everything like that. So I think like just how that's benefited agents, just taking the time and being able to focus more on what the client needs and answering questions and all those other things. Because I know a lot of people think like real estate, you just put a sign in the yard and then they open the door and that's it. No, there's so many hours on the back end of answering stuff for clients, making sure that their questions or fears are answered. And I think this merger helps so much because it's cut down time on some of the things where, some creative things that maybe for some agents aren't as natural or come as normal, maybe takes more time. I think it's just a lot of time in that way. So
yeah, absolutely. Now, Mike, again, in the way that you lead, again, you've led this company so well, led all these different agents so well. And one of the ways that you do so, we have a benefit on Wednesdays of our company meetings. You're giving us analytics. You're telling us what's going on in the market. This is the question we hear all the time. And I feel the laziest answer is to be like, it's crazy. The market's crazy. That took zero brain power to come up with. That's
sure.
It's crazy. All right. Why is it crazy? It's crazy.
It's just crazy. So it's wild out there.
Mike, I'm going to ask you a question. Currently in our real estate market, you can pick the Denver market, Colorado, Colorado Springs, you can pick the globe, United States. I'd love to hear from you the age-old question, what's going on in the market?
Yeah, no, great question. And it's a question that we get asked every day.
Yeah.
We are in a unique time in the market here, not something that's not happened before. It's just been a few years. So anybody that has been in and out of particularly the residential side of the market in the last 3 to 4 years, you've seen high pace turnover, accelerations on list price to purchase price. We've seen a lot of unique things. Interest rates have gone up. They've gotten back to one of the higher than we've seen since the 1990s. And so that's an interesting scenario to see us back in the 7% range. We have people freaking out, oh, that's so much, I can't believe it. When you had 2.25% on 30-year fixed money,
Yeah.
it is a significant change.
It was a great time.
It is. But
That's what I thought.
the opportunities that are there, we could talk about that too. That creates new opportunities. So every season creates a new set of opportunities. And you can look back at real estate across the nation, across the country, and across the state here, and then even really local in Colorado Springs where we're sitting right now. And you can say, what has it done and where are we at? And is it a good time to buy real estate? Is it a good time to sell real estate? I'm going to give everybody on this call or on this podcast some advice. I had a client, I was very fortunate when I first got started, who had made a lot of money in real estate, a lot of money. And I asked him, what's the secret? He said, do you really want to know? I said, yeah. So I took out my pen and paper, and ready to write all his knowledge he's going to download to me and in that. And he said, the secret to real estate is to never have to buy and never have to sell. I said, what? He said, no, you need to understand this. It's not that you don't buy. It's not that you don't sell. It's that you never have to.
Yeah.
And that advice and counsel has helped thousands of clients that Kenney Company's had the opportunity to serve with that, because we are able to help you understand when it makes sense to buy, when it makes sense to sell. And frankly, there's times in any market where it still makes sense to buy. And it can still make sense to sell, depending on your situation, what's going on, and what you're trying to do with that. But understanding it there. So your question of what else is going on in the market, we're going to see, because of those increased interest rates and the current constriction on inventory, there's still not a lot of inventory on the market. So people that have that 2.25% interest rate don't want to sell that house.
Sure.
And we regularly talk them out of selling that house. We'll tell you to keep it, and we'll turn it into a rental for you and create some passive income off of it, because you're never going to see money that cheap again.
Sure.
That's just a point of counsel for you. It's real rare you'll hear real estate agents tell you not to sell your house. You'll get that from Kenney Company agents quite regularly when they're looking out for your best interest.
The integrity is back to what their goals are and what their needs are and how it benefits them and how it benefits us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that piece of it, but that adds to this lack of inventory that's out there. So we already were shy on inventory. You have less inventory. You have higher interest rates. So less people can buy. The buying market is slightly less, even though we have what would be defined as a seller's market worth of inventory. So less than 6 months worth of inventory we've got in the market right now. Because those interest rates are higher, you see buyers that are sitting tight saying, hey, what are we going to do? Where are we at?
Do you think it's wise right now? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just to that part, I think we run into a lot right now where buyers are just like, interest rates are too high. We can't do anything. We're not going to make a move. But these are people that a year ago were saving money for that down payment. They were intending to get in the market maybe this year, but now because the interest rates have risen and everything like that, if you're sitting across from a buyer, so I know everybody's scenario is different, but here's the scenario. If you're sitting across from a buyer and maybe they have about 3% down right now to put down on a home, they are financially able to purchase a home, but they're saying, Mike, this monthly payment at 7% interest right here, this is insane. I just don't think I should do that. I think the market's just not for me right now. What kind of advice would you actually give them from the perspective of what's happening in the market specific to the Colorado Springs area, Colorado and everything like that? What would you say to them right now?
Yeah, no, good question. The first piece is we always want to make sure we're making wise choices. So if you say, hey, this payment is crazy, is it crazy because of the amount of your income it's taking? So your debt to income ratio.
Sure, yeah.
If you're saying, hey, this is taking 50% of my income, I would say you probably shouldn't be
sit
buying
down.
that.
Yeah.
That's not the scenario. But if it's
You are correct.
If you're saying, I was hoping I was going to pay $500 less a month, a year ago.
Sure.
Because rates were that much different.
Yeah.
Versus I'm sitting here now and I'm paying $500 more, but I'm still paying rent, and my rent did not go down. My rent is still elevated.
Yeah.
And those constrictions in inventory create that. So you're paying rent and or you're investing in your house. We have what I call shelter costs. You have to live somewhere.
Okay. So somebody's okay. I'm paying $2,800 a month in rent, but if I buy a house that's similar, everything like that, and let's say my payment is $3,400 a month, so I just had a $600 increase a month, but it's not going to hurt me from the debt to income ratio.
Mm-hmm.
That's too much, Mike. That's too crazy, Mike.
Yeah, that piece of it there, that opportunity cost, you may have spent $2,800 in your scenario there a month in rent. At the end of 12 months, what do you have to show for it? You have the shelter over the roof over your head. You have a few extra dollars in your pocket cash-wise. But what you missed out on was the tax benefit. You missed out on the appreciation potential in not doing that. And just saying, what is it? Are we evaluating real estate on a basis of what does it cost me per month?
Right.
So again, we want to make sure we're making wise choices.
Yes.
But that's not the only variable. Real estate is hands down one of the best investments you can make in the market, in any given market, because of the nature of it. Mm-hmm. It's a fixed asset. So high inflationary periods of time, fixed assets go up. Yeah. The cost of things go up in that scenario. So you're going to see that context there. Even if in the short term, you're like, well, I got to turn around, I'm going to flip the house in 3 months. That may not be a wise choice, and sure. We'd probably talk you out of that unless you bought it at such a price that you could exit and make that margin. Yeah. But anyways, in that context, there's always opportunity to buy. We would counsel you in that, and the opportunity to buy a house is something that you need to evaluate, because what it cost you in rent and or quote unquote saved you in renting versus buying. The real cost is determined on, well, how much of that went to interest and how much of that would reduce your tax bill. Yep. So of your $3,400 in your scenario, if $3,000 of that was interest, and I'm not giving tax advice right now, as a caveat, but
hit up your CPA.
Yeah, talk to your CPA. However, if that was interest, if $3,000 of that was interest in that scenario, that's $36,000 at the end of the year. I don't know how many of you would like to see a $36,000 tax reduction, but your $36,000 back in your pocket, as opposed to you paying $27,000 if you had paid the $2,800 a month, just out of your pocket.
Yeah,
it's just gone now.
Yeah,
I spent it, but now I've reduced it, and that extra money that was going towards principal is now added to my equity position in the property. And then we're not talking about if it appreciates, which is a whole other part of that. And your leverage, your cash on cash return gets there. Before we get too much in the weeds on that, I'm going to finish Jarrell's first question.
Okay.
Where we see the market. And the context of it, we are going to see less homes on a national basis sold in 2023 than we have seen since the recession in 8 and 9, and then since the 90s. So we're going to see these pieces in total number of sales. We're going to be in the 4.5 million range is the estimation we're looking at in total residential units sold across the country. That's way low for what the marketplace needs. Sure. From a shelter standpoint. But that's what we're going to see in that context. So there's reduction in total sales. There's pent up demand for it. People are sitting tight saying, hey, we're coming into an election year this next year. We're going to see rates drop. There's a whole nother discussion. We can go into all that. Sure. That's a whole nother podcast in that context. But the opportunities of where we're at in the market, you're going to see lower inventory, the opportunity to buy, you'll see great buying opportunities. People who put their house on the market from November through January are motivated. They're selling because they need to sell. Mm-hmm. So the opportunity to buy and get a deal, we're going to see great opportunities to buy in this last quarter of the year. That's one piece to keep in mind. You still have to move. There's reasons that force it, whether it's the loss of a loved one, a job change, divorce, unfortunately, or you got married, you had more kids, you're like, hey, we can't fit in this house anymore. Whatever the scenario is, life changes happen. And so there's still going to be people moving and having to move in that context. So figuring out how do we do that, how do we serve people and finding that deal. So that's a big broad stroke over it. That pent-up demand over the next decade is about 60 million residential units based on population growth, and we see generations coming into the buying market. So we've got a long way to go, and while people are anxious about, well, what's happening right this very moment, the long-term play on real estate is that it looks very promising that there's a need for houses.
Yeah, and what I love about the totality of your answer was that are you looking at it from the short term when it comes to buying this home, or are you looking at it from the long term? Again, back to those goals, back to grow, right? Like you originally said, what's the goal here? But really evaluating like those different things, taxes, appreciation, everything like that. If it makes sense, even with a high interest rate or anything like that, because even historically, these aren't the highest interest rates we've ever faced or anything like that.
Not at all.
And one thing that you were alluding to is just that you can't outpace appreciation on top of that too, right? So even though the interest rates are high, those assets are still appreciating. So just a little tidbit, but also just seeing there how it's just amazing how you take those different scenarios and how you will try to tailor it, is what you've showed us and taught us here at Kenney Company, is how do you tailor our services to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the clients. Like you said, we've talked sellers out of, hey, can we turn it into a rental income property for you? That would make more sense for you long term. Does that meet those needs? Now you still really just want to sell. Okay, if you really want to sell, then we'll do it for you. But or for a buyer, it's, hey, I know you're really ambitious, we want to buy, we want to help you do that. But looking at the situation and scenario, it may be better for these next 12 months to rent. What I love about your answer was we tailor it to the person and to the needs, not to how it's going to impact our bottom line, not to what it's going to do for us at the end of the day, but making sure that we really have our listening ears and hearts on to make sure that's happening with whatever the market looks like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, we're going to pivot. We're almost at an hour. We got about 10 minutes left. Let's get this hour shot. I know Mike's a very busy person.
Busy man.
First off, Mike, thank you so much for everything you've shared in this podcast. I think the listeners are going to be able to walk away with some nuggets. I've been taking notes over here myself. I'm like, that was a good quote. So thank you so much for just taking the time to be with us today. I do have a couple questions now for the listener or the viewer. I'm going to ask you about 10 questions or so. Me and Cal ask you 10 questions. You can give a yes or no answer. All right. And then you can give us a story if you want to, or we're just going to move on and act like it never happened. All right. Okay. So we're getting to know Mike Kenney. Okay, ready. First question. Do you have an embarrassing nickname?
I was called Commando. It's not really a nickname for embarrassing reasons, but yeah. We'll leave it at that.
I'm proud of that.
We're going to leave it at that.
Okay. Oh, snap.
Next.
Do you in fact like pina coladas?
Yeah, who doesn't?
Do you also like dancing in the rain?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go.
Next question. Now, be careful how you answer this one. Do you ever pick your nose when you think nobody is watching?
Yeah. Even though we're telling my kids not to. Every once in a while, you just gotta do it. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh,
that's hilarious.
You just gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So, have you ever ordered takeout to avoid doing dishes?
Avoided it to not have to cook or have my wife cook. I never thought about the dishes.
Yo, the dishes are piling up too much. I think I'm just gonna DoorDash this one.
Chinese food.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, never for the dish reason, but for others, yes.
All right. Now, this is a loaded question because cinema was different.
Oh, this is a year old.
You're showing your age here.
You understand? Yeah. As soon as I say this,
you'll understand.
Have you ever had a crush on a cartoon character?
Yes.
See?
Look, like Craig Man, right away.
I told you.
Right away.
I told you.
Ariel.
Look out, Disney. Yeah.
Look out, Disney.
Yeah, look out, Disney.
How you doing? Miss Incredible.
Miss Incredible.
No.
No. I was too old for that one.
Yeah.
So, you already alluded to your singing prowess. Do you still practice and warm up in the shower?
Oh, I love to sing in the shower.
Yeah, in the shower.
Yeah. What's your go-to shower song / karaoke song?
They're different, but Amazing Grace is definitely the shower song.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You sound like you're at the halls of the London Opera.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Old school cathedral.
It's like 4 a.m. Kids are asleep. Oh man.
Exactly. Yeah. What was the second part of the question?
What's the karaoke song?
What's your go-to karaoke song?
I like Sweet Caroline.
Hey, I think it's the crowd involved. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Or Every Rose Has Its Thorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every rose
has its
thorn.
Yep. There you go.
All right. Last question. Can you tell us one of your funniest real estate stories? I'll give you 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Can you tell us a quick story about you and something you experienced in real estate?
Well, let's see. This one's not funny, but it's the first one that comes to mind. I was taking.
a trash can.
Well, it ended up being a kind of miraculous deal, but taking a client. So I have, if we're taking you through a house, this lesson came out of this story. Like showing somebody a property, you will never take you to the basement first and then all the way up to the second floor, because I had a client, and it's not only happened once. Even when you start on the main level and you go upstairs first, I've had people get lightheaded. I've had to do CPR. Went up a flight of stairs, person, altitude, it's high out here. We were even in the foothills, so we're even more elevated. I did CPR. I never want to repeat that again.
Oh,
yep. I had to take another guy to the ER because he was having heart issues. Because he was having heart issues, so we took him to the ER. I was like,
Mike's in sales mode. This house took your breath away. Submit an offer.
Do you have a POA? Do you have somebody that has a POA?
Sorry, continue, Mike. I did not.
No, that's just when you cross. That's
So you've had that. Wait, you've had that happen multiple times.
The CPR thing, and then the heart. This guy ended up discovered he had a heart issue, and we brought him. Had to bring him to the hospital, and thankfully they caught it. And anyways, he had heart surgery. He had crazy story.
So did he end up eventually still buying with you?
He did
after the surgery.
Just not up in the mountains where he was looking.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, I can't.
We're not going.
So
that
what's the strategy?
Years later.
What's the strategy for the showing the house? Is it you see how they're doing on the main?
You start on the main level, and then you go upstairs,
Okay.
and then you go downstairs after you've done that, and then you only come back up one flight of stairs at a time. You never go 2 flights of stairs.
Okay.
Even athletes, I've seen people in good shape.
Yeah.
You get out here, the elevation's the real thing. You
Okay.
gotta watch out for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mike, again, round of applause. Let's give him
Round
a
of applause for Mike.
Thank you.
Mike,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you again so much for sitting down with me and Calvin today.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you all to the listener who's paying attention, the video people watching on video. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Better Homes and Garden Real Estate Podcast. Hope you have a wonderful.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Michael.